This is Sarah, Block Editor. I'm here with Photoshopped, one of your Neo-Tokyo leads. This series of interviews is designed to introduce citizens to their community leads and council members. So we're going to jump right in. First of all, welcome, Photoshop. Good to see you.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Start us off with who Photoshop was before crypto. Give us your background.
Oh, that's a good question. I guess it all started when I was bit by a radioactive spider. No, I was I was born and raised in Northern California. I come from a small town. I was in love with playing sports. That consumed the early part of my life. I love playing football and basketball. I'm a tall guy and a bigger guy, so that was my passion at a young age. I also loved art and always have been a bit of an artist. And I come from a family of artists. My grandmother's an amazing painter. And so that was something I had a love for early on as well. And when I graduated, I thought I was going to go play sports. And after getting a pretty nasty injury in my knee and ankle playing football in college, I decided to go a different path. And so I leaned into finishing up college and I decided I wanted to go make movies. So actually I should hit before that. In high school, I helped my mom start a company. She was a teacher and I came up with the idea to put an eraser on the back of a dry erase pen. And so
I remember this story.
Yeah. So that's such a part of my origin story. I helped her develop this product and eventually grow it into a small business where she created a whole line of educational products for the classroom. Being a teacher, she knew what teachers needed and what tools would be beneficial. So helping her start that company and get patents, and we started in our garage and then got a warehouse and slowly grew and grew. And that really gave me a taste for becoming an entrepreneur. I saw that side of the life. I saw the work that went into it. It's not easy. It's not for everybody. But helping her with that, I learned so much. And I had to wear a lot of hats. And that's where I learned how to do graphic design so that I could help her with content for that. And that kind of that love for that side of graphic design and marketing and sales really sparked my interest later in life. But I went off to college. I wanted to play football, as I said. Then I wanted to make movies. So I moved down to Hollywood, and that's where I met my beautiful wife. And I loved Hollywood. I loved being a part of that scene. I got to work for some great TV shows and do some really fun things. It culminated with working at Lucasfilm, which was a highlight of my life. I was a huge Star Wars fan, Indiana Jones, and I got to go work with the people making the amazing content that I loved so much as a kid. And at one point, I loved it, but it has really long days and it kind of sucks the life out of you. That industry is tough and it chews people up and spits them out. And I had a conversation with an assistant director who had worked his way up to the top. And I said, man, I spend more time with you than I spend with my girlfriend. And I love my girlfriend. And he goes, Joe, I spend more time with you than I spend with my kids. And that was that light bulb moment when I realized like, oh, maybe I don't want this life. And so at the time, our family company was struggling a bit. My mom didn't know how to move forward. So I moved my wife up to my hometown to help my mom build that company, and was able to help her take it to a multi-million-dollar business after taking, some of the new things that I had learned and a new passion for, like I said, that entrepreneurial lifestyle. And we grew our business, and that paved the way for me to do a lot more of what I love. And that was graphic design. Like I said, I fell in love with Photoshop, and that's where the name came from. I leaned into that medium and enjoyed doing it. And I started working with comedians. I started falling in love with podcasts and comedy. I love to laugh, and I really enjoyed that break from life, the stresses of life. And so I was like, hey, I can do this stuff. So I started making memes and I started making fan art. And then I eventually started working with some of the LA comedians, Adam Ray and Andrew Santino, eventually Joe Rogan, and some of the bigger names that people recognize. I got to make posters for their shows and make memes that they would share on their accounts. And it was something I really loved. And then 2020 hit and COVID happened, and the comedy scene kind of died, and that those doors began to close. And that's when I really found crypto. And that's when I had heard about Bitcoin years before and should have bought many times. But it was in 2020 when the government started giving us free money that I thought, hey, I'm going to invest this and I'm going to do something in this industry. And I fell in love with Web3. And then crypto led to NFTs. And after getting rugged a couple times, I found a great community of people, which led me to Neo Tokyo, which has become my home and my passion and something I care deeply about.
So what was the first moment that got you into crypto? Was there a defining event?
Right, that's a great question. In thinking about it, I just knew it was something I wanted to get in. Years before that, I had already, was researching it, and I had tried to pull out some money and go into it. And everybody told me, my mom was right there being like, hey, don't waste your money on this crap. Like, you're getting scammed. Like, all this Bitcoin stuff is a scam, and you shouldn't be putting your money into that. Why don't you save for buying a house? Why don't you save for this? The more practical, pragmatic approach. And I listened, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to just keep saving, and I'm going to just do, the normal thing. And I regretted that. And so I just had this voice in the back of my head that was like, man, you should have done that. You should have done that. And when 2020 hit, it was really that eye-opening moment. I had a lot more time on my hands. I looked into it deeper, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. Now I got this free money from the government. They sent those stimulus checks, right? And it was like, now I got a couple grand. I wasn't planning on having it. I didn't need it at the time. And so I wanted to invest it. And the stock market wasn't really interesting to me, but crypto was. I believe in what blockchain technology represents. So that was where my interest had been for a while. And I finally took the leap and started, Coinbase made it really easy to go in and buy some Bitcoin, buy some Ethereum, eventually made the mistake, I ended up profiting, but I bought some ADA and bought into the ETH killer narrative and bought all those layer ones. And, I learned a lot those first couple years of crypto. But it was NFTs and the community behind NFTs that I really fell in love with. And so that was where I'm so glad my journey led me to there, because I've made so many amazing friends and connections, and my network is incredible thanks to that initial intro into Web3. So I love this space.
Well, you are the most well-known memologist in the space and the most well-loved comedian in Neo Tokyo. So give us the story of how you got into Neo Tokyo.
That's a good one. So I started my NFT journey in a project called the Boss Logic Universe, or Blue. And Boss Logic was one of my favorite Photoshop artists and somebody who I looked up to for years. And his creativity and his skills with Photoshop were something I loved. And so when I heard he was going to put out an NFT project, I was like, yes, this is the one. This is where I want to jump into. I had heard about Bored Apes. I had heard about, what NFTs were becoming. And I thought, this is it. This is an artist I like. It didn't matter at that point. I would have supported anything he was doing. Unfortunately, that project, he ended up getting rugged by his partner, who kind of stole everything and left the project in shambles. But that led me to a beautiful community of people. Zeno is one of them, and a few others. I think maybe even C's was in that original community. And it was a group of us that came together and started solving the riddles for Neo Tokyo. And so had it not been for that initial kind of rug project, I wouldn't have gotten into Neo Tokyo. I had never minted off a contract before, so I was lucky enough to have people who walked me through the process. I helped them with the riddles, and we all did the solving of everything together. But when it came to the technical know-how that we needed to do, I ended up being group one, and those extra 10 minutes made all the difference for me to be able to mint the project. I don't know if I would have been able to get into Neo Tokyo had that not aligned for me. I was lucky enough to just have the good timing, to be paying attention at the right time, to hit that first speakeasy and have the right team to help me through the process. And I avoided was it Angie's Farm Bar or whichever one, which was the trap that blacklisted people's things. And so I played it right. It was fun. It's still to this day, some of the most fun I've had on my Web3 journey was that initial hunt to get into Neo Tokyo and that feeling of accomplishment of having earned that NFT rather than just bought in. It made it special. And I said that day, I didn't care what the floor price was, that I was never going to sell, that this was my forever community, my forever PFP. I'll ride it to zero if I have to, because I got in for free. So I didn't have that attachment like some people who paid, tens of thousands of dollars or more to get into the community. It was something special to me that I had earned with a group of people. And I knew that it would be like going to college for Web3. This was my education. This was my opportunity to surround myself with big brains. And I'm so grateful that I didn't sell when it was 40 ETH. Not that I couldn't have bought back in. It just wouldn't have been as special as holding on to the PFP that I earned.
It has definitely been an experience being in Neo Tokyo. I like that you call it the college of Web3, because I don't know where I would have learned all this stuff without being in this community. Let's get into your current focus. I know you have a few projects. Tell us where you spend most of your time now, whether it's in Web3 or out.
Well, I split my time pretty evenly. I still work for my family company. I'm currently trying to expand my family company into El Salvador. So we're trying to bring products down here. So we've been meeting with lawyers and jumping through all the red tape and finding all of the things that we need to do to properly import product and sell them here in another country, which has its challenges. So that takes up a good amount of my time. I'm starting a new social media for them in Spanish, and all of those things, setting the framework so that we can do this international expansion, which I think is the next step for our company to take the next leap and to grow. I see a need for the products down here as well. So I think it will be a good fit once we figure all that out. And that's taken up a good chunk of my time. I also work a lot with different projects on graphic design. I get reached out to for making memes. I've made a few collections for people with AI. I dabble in a little bit of everything in Web3 and like to help as many citizens as I can. I had started with my wife a project called Mi Vida Project, and that is the idea for us to do these retreats and masterminds and bringing together of this amazing community, because I truly believe that these amazing connections that we make here in Web3 are even stronger once we get a chance to meet IRL. And so I saw a need, and I still believe in that. Unfortunately, when my wife got cancer, I had to quit my job at the time to be able to afford healthcare and all of that. And I lived off of all of the savings that I had put to starting that business. So I'm currently trying to recuperate my savings so that I can properly launch it, because I don't want to half-ass it. I don't want to beg for money. I don't want it to be, just what I can afford. I want to do it right. So I'm still in the process of building that project, but in the meantime, I am back to work to get my finances back in order. It took a lot, unfortunately, that's the downside of healthcare in America, is it's not free. And it took a lot out of us to go through that whole process. But had I not quit my job and done that, I would have been like $1.5 million in debt for chemotherapy. It's a truly awful and overpriced thing to have to go through on many levels. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. But that's all behind us, and my wife is happy, healthy. She beat stage 4 lymphoma, and I couldn't be more proud of her and more grateful to continue this journey together through life. And I'm sure that when the timing is right, we will pick up Mi Vida Project back and get on board with that. But for now, I'm focused on helping the projects that I can with my skill set, whether that's graphic design, making memes, or however I can help. I have a wealth of experience in marketing and in other aspects from my IRL business that help me in Web3 as well. So I do some consulting and I do some, but graphic design is what I enjoy. So that tends to be the jobs that I take on and agree to. So I'm helping a few projects, and I love to work with Neo Tokyo. I make the thumbnails for the NTV videos as much as I can. And I try to make as much content for Neo Tokyo, although I want to commit more time to that because I see a need for some more content for not just us, but other citizen projects. So that's kind of where I'm spending my time currently.
Well, I know I was following Movida from the beginning, before you guys had your health scares over there. But I'm excited to see it. I think these retreats, especially sort of Web3 focus, are going to be essential going forward. And we've had this conversation before. I listened to your Health is Wealth space with Zihai, and just the discussions around taking care of your mental health, your physical health, and all of that, I think are so important to have. And hopefully this experience that you and your wife have gone through are going to add to your ability to provide these retreats in a way and information that you guys can share. Getting through experiences, it's just going to level you guys up. So I'm excited to see where that plays out. Let's get into your main expertise for citizens that don't know. And if a citizen does want to reach out to you, we kind of know you're the memologist. You see his work all over Neo Tokyo Codex and YouTube. What should citizens reach out to you for? What are you an expert on?
Expert's such a big word. I have a good amount. Yeah, right. I have a good amount of experience in marketing, in graphic design. I helped build a company from the ground up, so I understand what it takes for a startup and some of the challenges that can come your way. So like I said, I've done consulting for some different projects on ideas for marketing, on ways to bring attention. Citizens can always come to me for memes. It's one of the things I genuinely love doing. And a lot of times I end up doing it for free. I shouldn't say that, but I do it for my friends all the time because I love the process of making memes. I think it's like having learned a second language in a lot of ways. Right now, I'm down here practicing my Spanish and improving every day. And I think memes are their own language. And once you get to know the language, it becomes something you can do more consistently. So I enjoy that. Graphic design, I make a lot of, like I said, thumbnails and things like that. I'm working with a few projects right now in making banners and consistent content and helping with branding. That was one thing I had to do a lot for my company. So I have a good amount of experience there as well. I think I have a good, well-rounded skill set for building a business, for a project. I think I have a lot to offer to a lot of teams. I'm working with the Interlinked team right now. We just got off a meeting. That podcast is great. I love helping them with content and ideas to grow the brand. So yeah, I mean, I'm open to working with citizens in all aspects, but those are the things that I enjoy the most. So yeah, graphic design, meme creating, marketing advice, those kind of things, brand building. That's kind of my area of expertise, if you will.
Now give us what you dislike working on. What are you going to pass if someone reaches out for help on something?
That's tough. I will say this. Sometimes people reach out to me for a meme, and if I don't understand your project, if you can't articulate it to me in a way that makes it easily consumable, it's hard to make a meme for a project you don't understand. It's hard to make a brand, right? To help somebody with branding if they have no idea and a blank slate of some people reach out to me like, hey, can you create this thing? And I send them a few options and you can tell they just don't know what they want. So if you're going to reach out to me, the more you understand about your project, the more you can articulate what you want out of your branding, out of your marketing material, the easier it is for me to work with you and the more likely I am to take on those projects. I wouldn't say there's anything in this space I dislike. There's definitely weaknesses in my skill set and things where that's not my area, but that would be one thing. There's definitely been people who've come to me for help with content, and it's like, if I don't understand your project and you can't articulate it to me, or you don't have a vision for it that's clear enough and concise enough to convey it to the graphic designer, and then I have to just do a lot of back and forth to find what it is you want, that's a lot more challenging. And a lot of times people don't realize the amount of time on my end that goes into it, right? So it's easy to say like, oh, how long did that thumbnail take you? Well, that one took an hour. Okay. Well, it can take, a week to put together, some branding proposals and to go back and forth about logos. Logos is something I have a love-hate relationship for. I don't mind creating them. I'm good at them sometimes. And other times I struggle to capture the vision. Oftentimes it's because the person doesn't have a clear vision themselves of what they want.
So essentially, I'd say you're not a mind reader, is what you want to let everyone know.
I wish I was. That would help. That would be grateful to have that skill, but I don't, unfortunately.
All right. I think we know the main answer to this next one. What are you most known for in Neo Tokyo, or what have you done there that is well known? I know you for your, but there's more to it.
Early on, I created a lot of memes and content to make people laugh. I don't do that as much as I used to. I tend to try to uplift the chat whenever I'm in Perg or in the Leads Council chat or any of that. I try to make the mood lighthearted, make people laugh, smile, share GIFs and things of that nature. Most people won't know that I created the Bytes logo for Neo Tokyo. I've done a few other logos and branding things along the way. Some of the posters you see, I helped start the branding for Neo Tokyo News. I do the thumbnails for the Interlink podcast and the Meet Your Citizens. And so I try to allow my skill set to hold one moment. I'm getting I try to add value whenever I can, but if you're seeing content, it's that's from me. I hope that it makes you smile and laugh in the community. That's one thing that brings me joy, is bringing joy to others.
Well, I love the Bytes logo, and I didn't realize you did it. So well done on that one. Let's go into the hardest question that we have here for our leads and council members.
Sure.
Give me one word to associate with Photoshop.
One word. Oh, that's
one
tough.
word. This is a tough one. We started off kind of business, people were saying marketing, PR, tokenomics, that kind of thing. But we went off the rails, and we've had everything from feisty to nerd to mom. So any word you want, one word to associate with Photoshop.
That's a really tough question. I'd have to think about it, because there's words that I love, when people call me a memer, right? It's simple. It breaks it down to that, but I do a lot more than just make memes. My favorite job in life is being a dad, right? You talked about mother, and being a dad is the joy of my life, but I'm more than just a dad. So that's a really tough question. I hope that when people think of me, that's a tough one.
It is. We had to throw a stumper in to get this off the cuff.
Maybe optimistic, because for better or worse, I tend to be optimistic. I hope that my investments do well. I tend to look at the brighter side of life. I think that's maybe what makes me able to see humor in maybe challenging situations. So that's something that gets said about me by my friends and family, is that I'm maybe hopelessly optimistic sometimes. But
I like it. You come into chats and sometimes you turn it around with one meme. There could be a heavy feeling or a big discussion going on, and you have the ability to lighten the whole discussion with one meme. So I think optimistic is a great word for you.
Optimistic, joyful, happy. I mean, these are all things that I aspire to be. So if I can, have that reputation, that makes me happy.
I love it. I think we'll stick with that. All right, final question. Beyond Neo Tokyo, beyond Web3, what are your hobbies? What do you enjoy doing? Something we can all relate to outside of this digital world we exist in.
I absolutely love to travel. I got the bug for travel at a young age. My dad liked to travel, so he took me to Europe, and traveling, trying new foods, going to museums and seeing art. And these are things that really are some of the highlights of my life. I love traveling with my family. I'm so excited. My daughter's 6, and so she's finally getting old enough to appreciate and enjoy some of these things. And so I live in another country than where I was born, and that's been an adventure. So I love adventures. I love the idea of the memories that we build. Life for me, I don't spend it chasing money. Money is nice to have. It makes things easier, and obviously it allows you to do things like travel, but I'm not in a pursuit of financial success. I'm in a pursuit of the memories that I can create with the people that I love. And so I chase that whenever I have an opportunity, even if it's just locally, going to the beach, renting a beach house, bringing friends, and making a memory that we can, look back on years from now when I'm too old to walk around or do things, and I will have built a wealth of memories. That's what I want my legacy to be, that I had fun, lived a good life, and brought joy to those around me.
I love it. Building up a memory bank is a great advice for all of us to do. And we'll be looking forward to those retreats soon, I hope.
Yes. Can't wait.
We're gonna wrap this up. We're done. We're done with our questions. This is Sarah, Block Editor. Today we had Photoshopped on, one of your community leads, and we will be back with another episode next week.